Something is wrong, and it might just change the luxury industry as we know it. In January 2026, luxury brands were busy celebrating another year of price increases. Chanel raised bags by 8%. Louis Vuitton pushed leather goods up by 6%. Dior hiked ready-to-wear by 10%. Then something happened that nobody saw coming. Consumers stopped playing along. The BoF-McKinsey State of Fashion 2026 report just dropped. It's the industry Bible, the document that luxury executives read before making billion-dollar decisions. And buried in the data is the conclusion that the luxury market would face. We'll talk about these problems in this video. Let's start with the problem nobody wants to admit, the one that's been hiding in plain sight for years. Because luxury didn't just raise prices, they broke the entire value equation. Number 10. The price-quality disconnect. Remember when buying luxury meant getting something objectively better? Better leather, better stitching, better materials, better craftsmanship. That contract is broken. Between 2019 and 2025, luxury brands raised prices by 20 to 70%. A Chanel classic flap that cost around $4,900 in 2019, now it costs around $10,400. That's a 112% increase in 6 years. Did craftsmanship improve 112%? Did leather quality double? Did stitching become twice as precise? No, the bags got more expensive. That's it. And consumers noticed. Viral videos emerged showing $3,000 Miu Miu bags falling apart like fast fashion. Influencers documented luxury purchases lasting months instead of years. TikTok is filled with complaints about declining quality across Gucci, Balenciaga, Louis Vuitton. The State of Fashion report is brutal on this. Brands raised prices without corresponding improvements in product quality or creativity. That's not consumer perception, that's industry consensus. Operating margins for luxury goods peaked at 23% in 2012. They hit 21% in 2021. By 2025, down to 15 to 16%, the lowest since 2009. Basically, this means that brands raised prices dramatically, but profitability collapsed anyway. They extracted maximum revenue while destroying perceived value. This is what happens when pricing becomes disconnected from the product. Consumers will pay premium prices for premium products. But when you charge $10,000 for a bag that feels like it costs $200 to make and will fall apart in a year, trust evaporates. You can't rebuild quality perception overnight. Luxury brands spent years training consumers that high prices don't mean high quality. Now, they're shocked that consumers are walking away. And where are those consumers walking to? Not to cheaper fast fashion. They're going somewhere that's quietly eating luxury's lunch while nobody was paying attention. Number 9. Mid-market is the new luxury. For decades, luxury controlled the aspirational market. If you wanted elevated fashion, you bought entry-level luxury, a Louis Vuitton never full, a Gucci belt, a Prada nylon bag. That pipeline is dead. While luxury chased ultra-high net worth customers with $10,000 bags, mid-market brands like Polane, Totem, The Frankie Shop, and Studio Nicholson evolved. They offered better leather, better construction, better design at around $500 to $1,500. The value proposition flipped. Why buy entry-level Gucci that screams, "I can barely afford luxury," when you can buy mid-market pieces that whisper, "I know quality and don't need logos"? The State of Fashion 2026 report states it plainly. Mid-market is now the fastest-growing segment and is replacing luxury as fashion's main value creator. Polane bags have waitlists. Totem sells out collections. The Row, technically luxury-priced but logo-free, is thriving while logo-heavy brands collapse. Consumers are choosing elevated experience over traditional luxury positioning. A Polane Numero Un bag? It goes for about $550. Hand-stitched in Spain. Real leather. Beautiful finishing. No logo. A Gucci Marmont? Give or take $2,200. Logo everywhere. Quality complaints everywhere. Discounted to $1,800 at outlets. Which one holds value better? Which one makes you look smart versus desperate? This shift is permanent. The mid-market isn't competing on price. They are competing on value, better quality to price ratios, better store experiences, better brand storytelling, no logo dependency. Luxury trained consumers to care about quality and exclusivity. Mid-market delivers both without the luxury markup. For the first time in modern fashion history, non-luxury segments are driving industry profit growth. Luxury lost its monopoly on aspiration, and they're not getting it back. But at least luxury still has China, right? The market that saved them during COVID? The customers who lined up to buy anything with a logo? About that. Number 8. The China crisis. China was luxury's golden goose. Compound annual growth of 12% between 2010 and 2024. Chinese consumers accounted for roughly 30 to 40% of global luxury purchases. Brands opened flagships in Tier 2 cities. Growth seemed infinite. Then reality hit. Youth unemployment crisis. Property market collapse. Domestic spending is down 18 to 20% in 2025. Consumer confidence in freefall. Chinese shoppers didn't stop buying luxury. They stopped buying from brands that disrespected them. Kering, owner of Gucci, Saint Laurent, Balenciaga, has been devastated in China. Gucci sales in Greater China are down 25% or more in recent quarters. Why? Because trend-driven brands like Gucci and Balenciaga failed to connect with Chinese consumers who increasingly want timeless, crafted pieces. Meanwhile, Hermès and Brunello Cucinelli, brands focused on craft and quality, continue posting double-digit growth in China. The market isn't dead, it's just rejecting hype. Here's the twist. Chinese consumers are still buying luxury. They're just buying it outside China. When the yen weakened in 2024, Chinese tourists flooded Japan to buy luxury at discounts. When traveling to Europe, they shop there instead of at home. Domestic luxury spending in China is down by 18 to 20%. But overall, Chinese luxury consumption globally, more stable. The problem isn't Chinese demand. It's that China's domestic luxury market, where brands make the highest margins, is collapsing. Chinese consumers are evolving faster than Western luxury brands can adapt. They want quality over hype, craftsmanship over celebrity endorsements, timeless design over trendy risk. Brands built on fast-changing creative directions and influencer partnerships are dying in China. Brands built on heritage and craft are thriving. China will never again be the easy-growth market luxury relied on. Brands must earn Chinese consumers' respect through product quality and brand integrity, not marketing budgets. So, luxury raised prices, lost China, and watched mid-market steal their customers. Surely they can still count on loyal buyers, right? The people who always bought luxury? Except those customers are changing too, and what they want now is terrifying for traditional luxury. Number 7. The experience economy. Luxury used to be about ownership. Handbags, shoes, clothes, status symbols you could wear and photograph. That era is ending. According to the State of Fashion report, consumers increasingly prioritize experiences, travel, wellness over status symbols. They'd rather spend $5,000 on a trip to Kyoto than a Gucci bag. The psychological shift is profound. Millennials and Gen Z don't measure success through possessions. They measure it through experiences shared on Instagram. A weekend in Tulum generates more social capital than a logo bag. This hits luxury brands in a specific way. Bags and shoes were always experience proxies. You bought the Birkin to signal you could afford it. But when travel and wellness become the actual signals of wealth, physical luxury goods become unnecessary. Wellness is now a top priority for 84% of US consumers and 94% in China. They're spending on gym memberships, health retreats, mental wellness, longevity treatments. That's money not going to luxury fashion. A luxury handbag that costs $3,000 to $10,000 depreciates immediately. It provides utility for years, but social value for months. But a wellness retreat in Bali costs around $3,000 to $5,000 and generates Instagram content for weeks, provides mental health benefits, fitness improvements, social connections. Which investment seems smarter to a 35-year-old professional? Luxury brands are competing with completely different categories now. Not other fashion brands, but airlines, hotels, wellness companies, restaurants, travel experiences. The share of wallet battle expanded beyond fashion, and luxury is losing. Brands must evolve from selling objects to selling lifestyle experiences. Hermès understands this. Their stores are destinations, their products are heirlooms, their brand represents a lifestyle. Gucci selling logo belts? That's not a lifestyle. That's merchandise. Speaking of Gucci, their collapse isn't just a China problem or an experience economy problem. It's way worse than that, because when one of the biggest luxury brands on earth loses a quarter of its revenue in a single quarter, the entire industry trembles. Number 6. The Gucci nightmare. Gucci was untouchable. Under Alessandro Michele, from 2015 to 2022, the brand became a cultural phenomenon. Revenue doubled. Profits soared. The industry watched in awe. Then Michele left in 2022 and everything collapsed. In Q1 2025, Gucci sales went down for about 25%. In Q2, it went down another 25%. During Q3, sales went down 18%. For the full year 2025 revenue, sales went down 26% to 3 billion euros. The operating income also took a big hit. It crashed down by 51%. This is not a small thing. It is a catastrophic failure. How did this happen? Sabato De Sarno took over as creative director in 2023. His vision, a cleaner, more commercial Gucci. Less maximalist, more wearable. The market hated it. They said it was boring and didn't have enough edge. Gucci customers who wanted Michel's eccentric maximalism fled to other brands. New customers De Sarno hoped to attract, they never showed up. Then, in 2025, Kering made a desperate move. They fired De Sarno and hired Demna, formerly Balenciaga's creative director, to lead Gucci. Demna presented his first Gucci collection in September 2025. Early reviews? Mixed at best. The collection generated conversation, but didn't generate sales momentum. This is her because Kering's entire financial structure depends on Gucci. Gucci represents roughly 50% of Kering's revenue. When Gucci collapses, Kering collapses. Kering's stock price in 2021 was around 820 euros. In late 2025, it was under 250 euros. That's a 70% decline. Kering's market cap evaporated by tens of billions of euros. Gucci's problem is systemic. They relied on a single creative genius, Michel, to drive hype. When he left, there was no institutional brand strength to fall back on. Now they're cycling through creatives, hoping someone, anyone, can reignite demand. But creative instability destroys brand consistency. Every new designer alienates existing customers while trying to cultivate new ones. And Kering is making it worse by changing creatives at Gucci, Saint Laurent, Balenciaga, and Bottega Veneta simultaneously. Too much chaos, too fast. Analysts estimate Gucci needs 2 to 3 full collections under new leadership to stabilize. That's 2026 and 2027 at minimum. Can Kering survive that long without Gucci revenue? Can they keep stores open while bleeding cash? Can they convince investors to stay patient? We're about to find out. Gucci's collapse is terrifying for Kering. But it's part of a bigger pattern. A pattern where luxury brands are resorting to something they swore they'd never do. Something that destroys brand equity faster than almost anything else. Number 5. The discounting disaster. Luxury brands had one sacred rule. Never discount. Full price or nothing. Scarcity maintains value. That rule is dead. In 2025, somewhere between 35 and 40% of luxury goods sold at discounted prices. Not at outlet stores, but at regular retail, through promotions, through private sales, through friends and family events. That's up from roughly 30% a decade earlier. What's driving this? Inventory crisis. Brands overproduce, hoping to capture growth. Growth doesn't materialize. Inventory piles up. Margins compress. Desperation sets in, so they discount. Quietly, through insiders. Through private events. Through outlet expansions. But here's the problem. Once consumers know luxury discounts exist, they wait for them. Why buy full price in February when you know private sales happen in June? Even worse, luxury brands are raising retail prices and increasing discounting simultaneously. Retail prices up 50%, discount frequency up 10%. The worst possible combination. Discounting is a death spiral. Once you start, you can't stop without massive inventory write-offs. But continuing destroys full-price sell-through, which forces more discounting next season. Consumers learn to game the system. Fashion enthusiasts know which brands discount when. They know outlet locations. They know private sale schedules. Full-price customers feel like fools. They would regret paying for a full sum when they could have waited for discounts. Imagine paying $3,000 in March when someone bought the same piece for $1,800 in July. Doesn't exactly feel smart, does it? Brands are trapped. They can't discount their way to profitability. But they can't stop discounting without inventory disasters. The only escape is producing less, but that requires accepting lower revenue, which investors won't tolerate. So they keep discounting. And margins keep compressing, and brand equity keeps eroding. Discounting destroys margins. But there's another problem hitting profitability even harder. Something luxury brands have zero control over. A cost crisis that's making the entire business model unsustainable. Number 4. The leadership chaos. Luxury brands used to keep creative directors for decades. Karl Lagerfeld at Chanel was there for 36 years. Domenico Dolce and Stefano Gabbana founded Dolce & Gabbana in 1985 and still maintain the ultimate creative control. Marc Jacobs at Louis Vuitton spent 16 years. Continuity created brand equity. But in the past 18 months, 9 of the top 15 luxury brands appointed new creative directors. That's 60% turnover in less than 2 years. Gucci, Chanel, Dior, Givenchy, Balenciaga, Maison Margiela, Bottega Veneta, Saint Laurent, all in creative transition. Why is this catastrophic? Every creative change triggers a reset. A new designer arrives. Needs time to develop vision. The first collection takes 12 to 18 months. Early reviews are critical, but sales lag. Customers need time to understand the new direction. If the first collection succeeds, great. If it fails, pressure mounts. The designer gets maybe 2 more chances before the brand panics and fires them. DiSarno at Gucci lasted 22 months. That's barely enough time for 3 collections. You can't rebuild a multi-billion euro brand in 3 collections. But Kering panicked, fired him, hired Demna, reset the clock. Here's what this costs. Every creative change includes severance for departing designer, design team turnover, collection delays, marketing resets, store experience updates, product pipeline disruptions. Kering alone has changed creatives at Gucci, Saint Laurent, Balenciaga, and Bottega Veneta in overlapping timeframes. That's operational chaos compounded. This is short-term thinking destroying long-term value. Brands panic when sales slump, fire the creative, hire someone new, hope for immediate results. But immediate results never come. New creatives need time. Instead, brands create a revolving door that prevents anyone from building momentum. Yan-Mei Tang at Third Bridge Research calls Kering's strategy risky, given their reliance on Deputy CEO Francesca Bellatini, the only operational constant amid creative chaos. Leadership instability will define luxury through 2027. The brands that succeed will be those that give new creatives time to execute. The brands that fail will keep cycling through designers, hoping for miracles that never arrive. Patience has left luxury, and without patience, there's no strategy, just desperation. So we've got price increases without quality improvements, mid-market stealing customers, China cooling, consumers preferring experiences, Gucci collapsing, discounting spiraling, and leadership chaos. But there's something even bigger happening. There's a shift so fundamental, it's rewriting the entire luxury playbook. Number 3, the second-hand revolution. Luxury brands hated second-hand. It cannibalized new sales. It was uncontrollable. It was off-brand. Now, it's unavoidable. The second-hand luxury market is growing 2 to 3 times faster than the primary market. More people are buying pre-owned luxury than new luxury. and the gap is widening. 59% of global consumers say they're likely to shop secondhand in 2026. In China, over 70%. Platforms like Vinted saw net profit grow over 330% from 2023 to 2024. The Vestiaire Collective, Rebag, Fashionphile, all posting massive growth. By 2027, secondhand fashion and luxury is forecast to become one of the biggest segments of the industry. U.S. online resale is forecast to hit $34 billion by 2027, growing 16% annually. Why are consumers choosing secondhand? Value. A Chanel Classic Flap retails for $10,400 new. Pre-owned in excellent condition? $7,000 to $8,000. That's 25 to 30% savings for a bag that looks identical. For aspirational buyers priced out by retail increases, secondhand is the only entry point. Here's what's fascinating. Luxury brands are starting to embrace it. Brand-led resale programs in the US grew around 60% recently. Luxury brands realized fighting secondhand is futile. Better to control it, authenticate it, profit from it. But this creates an existential problem. If brands validate secondhand as legitimate, why would anyone buy new? A new Chanel bag costs around $10,400. 3-year-old Chanel bag sold through Chanel's own resale program with authenticity guarantee costs $7,000. Both are Chanel approved. One costs 30% less. What happens to new sales when even the brands tell customers pre-owned is fine? Secondhand isn't a trend. It's a structural shift. Luxury must figure out how to participate without cannibalizing primary sales. So far, nobody's solved that puzzle. And the longer it takes, the more customers get comfortable buying exclusively secondhand. Secondhand is exploding. Leadership is in chaos. Discounting is rampant. But here's a crucial problem that affects every single transaction, every single day. It's invisible to most consumers, but it's choking brands to death. Number 2, the tariff catastrophe. For decades, global trade worked smoothly. Manufacturing in Italy, France, China, selling everywhere. Tariffs existed but were manageable. 2025 destroyed that. 76% of fashion executives say tariffs are the biggest issue, defining 2026. Not consumer demand, not creativity, not China, tariffs. Why? Because luxury supply chains are global. A Gucci bag might use Italian leather, Chinese hardware, French craftsmanship, then sell in the US. Every border crossing is now a tariff event. US tariffs on Swiss watches hit 15%. It even briefly threatened to rise to 39%. US tariffs on Chinese goods remain elevated. European retaliatory tariffs compound the problem. Brands responded by raising prices to offset tariffs, which accelerated consumer pushback against luxury pricing. Now brands face an impossible choice: absorb tariffs and destroy margins, or pass them to consumers and destroy demand. The reality is brutal. A luxury coat manufactured for $500 retails for $2,000 pre-tariff. That's a 75% gross margin. Add 15% tariffs, the cost rises to $575. To maintain a 75% margin, retail must hit $2,300. Already consumers think $2,000 is expensive. At $2,300, demand collapses. So brands compromise, raise prices 5 to 10% and absorb the rest. Margins compress to 65%. Profitability suffers. Tariffs don't just raise costs. They force brands to choose between profitability and volume. And in a market where demand is already weak, there are no good choices. Brands are mitigating through pulling forward inventory, importing goods before tariffs hit. But that's a one-time trick. Once inventory cushions run out in 2026, the full tariff impact appears. Tariffs will define fashion economics through 2027 minimum. Brands will restructure supply chains, move production, renegotiate contracts. It'll take years, cost billions, and consumers won't care. They'll just know luxury got more expensive. Again, Tariffs, secondhand, leadership chaos, discounting, lost customers, broken China, declining quality, these are all symptoms. But there's one root cause driving everything. Up next is the fundamental mistake that triggered this entire crisis, and luxury still hasn't admitted it. Number 1. The trust collapse. Luxury operated on a promise. Pay more, get more. Not just better products, better experiences, better service, better brand relationships, better long-term value. That promise held for generations. Then, luxury got greedy. Between 2019 and 2025, brands raised prices by 20 to 70%. They told customers it was inflation, material costs, craftsmanship investments. It was lies. Profits didn't increase 70%. Craftsmanship didn't improve 70%. Material costs didn't double. Luxury brands simply realized they could raise prices and consumers would keep buying. So they raised them again and again, until consumers stopped. The State of Fashion 2026 report says it explicitly. Brands raised prices with no corresponding bump in quality or creativity. That's the industry admitting they extracted maximum value while delivering minimum improvement. A Chanel classic flap has gone through a series of changes. In 2019, it was around $4,900. In 2025, $10,400. From 2019 till now, there has been a 112% increase. Did the bag get 112% better? Did Chanel hire 112% more artisans? Did leather quality double? No. They raised the price because they could. And now consumers know the premium was always psychological, not material. So brands are doing everything they can to take profits, even if this means that consumers would be more stressed. The trust between luxury brands and consumers has been betrayed. And to fix this, brands must know that you don't rebuild trust with marketing campaigns. You rebuild it by delivering value. Real value, measurable value. That means better quality, probably better service, consistently better creativity, undeniably, and better brand relationships. Personally, Hermès does this. Brunello Cucinelli does this. Loro Piana does this. Gucci doesn't. Balenciaga doesn't. Most luxury doesn't. And the gap between brands that deliver value and brands that extract value is now obvious. Trust takes decades to build and seconds to destroy. Luxury destroyed it over 6 years of price hikes without corresponding value increases. Rebuilding will take a decade minimum, maybe longer. And many brands won't survive long enough to try. So here's where we are. Luxury raised prices without improving quality. Consumers noticed and fled to mid-market alternatives, offering better value. China cooled and started punishing hype brands. Shoppers prioritized experiences over possessions. Gucci collapsed, taking Kering with it. Brands started discounting, destroying margins. Leadership chaos prevented strategic consistency. Secondhand exploded, offering luxury access without luxury prices. Tariffs compressed margins further. And underlying everything, trust collapsed completely. The State of Fashion 2026 doesn't call this a difficult year. It calls it a great reset. 46% of executives expect conditions to worsen. Only 25% see improvement. The rest are just trying to survive until consumer confidence returns, China stabilizes, or some external shock resets the market. But here's what they're missing. This isn't cyclical, this is structural. The luxury business model that worked from 1990 to 2020, raise prices annually, expand distribution, rely on aspirational buyers, leverage brand heritage without delivering corresponding value. Now, that model is dead. It died because information became democratized. Consumers can now compare quality objectively. They can see manufacturing costs. They can watch TikToks of luxury bags falling apart. They can calculate that a $10,000 Chanel bag probably costs $300 to $500 to make. The mystique is gone. And without mystique, luxury is just overpriced merchandise. But here's the thing, this isn't the end of luxury. It's the end of lazy luxury. Brands that actually deliver on their promises. Hermès, Brunello, Cucinelli, The Row, Loro Piana. are thriving. Hermès posted 7.2% revenue growth in Q1 2025, while the sector collapsed. Brunello Cucinelli grew 11.5% in 2025. These brands succeed because they never broke the trust equation. They raised prices slowly, 3 to 4% annually, matching actual cost increases. They improved quality continuously. They respected customers. They understood that luxury is a promise, not just a price tag. The brands collapsing? They treated customers like ATMs. They assumed hype would cover for declining quality. They prioritized short-term margin expansion over long-term brand equity. They hired and fired creatives like they were disposable. They discounted it while claiming scarcity. They lied. Now the bill is due. And it's not just about sales. It's about relevance. Gen Z and younger millennials, the customer's luxury needs for the next 30 years, don't care about traditional luxury codes. They don't worship logos. They don't believe brand heritage justifies premium pricing. They want proof of quality, proof of sustainability, proof of ethics, proof of value. Luxury hasn't been providing proof. It's been providing marketing. The question for 2026 isn't whether luxury survives. Luxury will survive. The category is too large, too culturally embedded, too psychologically powerful to disappear. The question is, which brands survive? Which brands rebuild trust? Which brands remember that premium prices require premium value? Which brands accept that the old playbook is finished? And which brands keep raising prices, keep discounting, keep cycling through creatives, keep hoping marketing can substitute for quality, and keep collapsing until they don't exist anymore? We're watching the greatest luxury correction in modern history. Billions in market cap evaporating. Flagship brands closing stores. Creative directors fired after months. Entire business models restructured. Conglomerates like Kering fighting for survival. This is what happens when an industry forgets why it exists. Luxury isn't about charging more. It's about being worth more. Being worth more requires investment. In materials, in craftsmanship, in design, in service, in relationships, in everything that made luxury valuable in the first place. The brands that remember that actually invest instead of just extracting, will dominate the next decade. The brands that don't, they're already finished. They're zombie brands, still operating, still marketing, still raising prices. But trust is gone. And without trust, they're just expensive brands that nobody wants. The State of Fashion 2026 predicts low single-digit growth for the industry through 2027. But that average hides massive divergence. Some brands will grow 10 to 20%. Others will shrink 10 to 30%. The gap between winners and losers will be brutal. And we're only at the beginning. 2026 through 2028 will be about survival. Who can maintain cash flow? Who can service debt? Who can keep stores open? Who can retain talent? 2029 and beyond will be about dominance. The brands that survive the reset will inherit the industry. They'll acquire the brands that didn't. They'll capture the customers who no longer have alternatives. But first, they have to survive. And based on current trajectories, many won't. This is the Great Reset. Welcome to the new luxury, where value actually matters, where quality isn't optional, where customers have power, and where brands that forgot why they exist get erased. Did your favorite brand make this list? Are you still buying luxury, or have you moved to mid-market? Drop a comment. Let's talk about whether luxury deserves to survive. And if you want to keep up with events around the luxury world, like this video and subscribe. Because 2026 is going to be absolutely brutal for brands that refuse to change.